It's never taken me more than 6 weeks to completely remove someone's acne. But here's where people get scammed out of their money. This is completely 100% real, and it happens all over the world for clinics and home users that use the Dermalux brand of LED devices, but only if they use it correctly. You see, the blue light of 450 nanometers causes electrical charges to be thrown about on an atomic scale inside the acne bacteria. The charge carrier, known as an electron, then attaches to oxygen to create something called a free radical, which you might have heard of. Antioxidants protect us against these things. Because it's got too much negative charge now, this oxygen then has to neutralize itself by playing a game of tag to pass on the charge it's collected. As a result, it then destroys the integrity of the bacterial cell wall, and with catastrophic structural damage like the wall of your house collapsing, the bacteria dies. Because this happens the moment you switch the machine on, it happens instantly instead of over time, like with drugs or chemicals where you have to wait for drug interactions to happen. This is why it's so quick to clear acne with Dermalux LED. At the same time, we're using near infrared at 830 nanometers. This unblocks the metabolism of our cells to allow the cell to carry on going about its job. It hits structures inside the cell called mitochondria, which is where energy is made. So by unblocking it, just like unblocking your toilet, you can use it again. You could start to use red light too at 633 nanometers, but red increases the activity of the cell. And if the activity is inflammation, which it will be in acne, then it's best to add it later on once a lot of the inflammation has gone down. Otherwise, you'll simply increase inflammation. This way you don't risk making the acne worse by adding red light too early. This is exactly what happened with this patient that I referred for LED treatment.
So I was referred to Dr. And when I went there, it seemed like an alright situation. So she talked me through it. I asked a few questions about the different types of lights, and it seemed that she knew to put me on the light I was prescribed on. But once I was under the light, I noticed I could see red through the goggles that were provided, which, I was told I shouldn't see. And then a few days later, I just noticed it was getting worse. The redness was getting worse. I was having more breakouts. It was very, very red and angry. Yeah.
And then when you had LED for the second time, what differences were there during the treatment and also in the results?
So the new place I was asked to go to, she was really nice. She talked me through it. Even in the first treatment, I noticed my skin, the redness calmed down significantly.
And the second time, there was no red used, was there?
No red. I could see it through the goggles. It was the near infrared and the blue light.
There we go. On average, start with blue and near infrared and add in red later. If you want to add skincare at the same time, that's absolutely fine, but a good routine should look something like this with some slight modifications for acne. And so with this routine, it's never taken me more than 6 weeks to completely remove someone's acne. But here's where people get scammed out of their money. These wavelengths are crucial, and if they're not right, you're going to be getting very little progress. Lots of manufacturers will say to you that their devices are the best, and you're sat there wondering who to listen to. Well, take opinion of the manufacturer out of it and just look at facts. The amount of energy going into the skin in joules per square centimeter is how much biological change you're actually making. It correlates to how many of those bacteria you're hitting. So more hits comes from more energy being sent to the skin. The legal limit worldwide is 240 joules per square centimeter. If you go above that, you could potentially cause damage, but if you're at 240, you get the most amount of improvement. This is a fact, and I would invite any manufacturer in the world to have a live debate with me right here if they disagree. Dermalux is the only brand in the world that's capable of hitting 240, hence why it's the only brand in the world to have a medical license, which is far more impressive than just FDA approval or FDA clearance, which frankly means absolutely nothing, by the way. Dermalux also has the most accurate LED, so the color wavelength that you select is what you get out. Sounds obvious, but what people don't realize is that if you choose, say, 450 nanometers of blue light on any other device in the world, a significant chunk of what's coming out of it is nowhere near 415. Let that sink in for a second, and then you realize where no brand in the world has ever been given a medical license to treat things like even cancer apart from Dermalux. If you'd like me to prove why the devices are then just comment down below which one you're thinking of buying, and I'll tell you things which you definitely won't find on the manufacturer's website when they're trying to sell it to you.